What is up, everyone? I'm Skratch. Welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. In today's video, guys, we're gonna create the ultimate tier list for relics in Raid Shadow Legends. Now, a lot of you guys might be wondering, which relics are the best? Which relics should I use as fodders? We have this issue at the moment in the game where we just don't get enough materials to upgrade our relics to 3-star, 4-star, 5 stars, etc. So in order to do that, we need to basically feed a lot of the relics that we are getting. And yes, you should feed rare relics. You should feed epic relics. I wouldn't recommend you to feed legendaries or mythicals for the foreseeable future, no matter which one it is, to be honest with you guys, because the legendary relics, the mythical relics, they do give you basically a lot of bonuses just from the gemstones alone, without actually even considering that, well, you know what, this one sucks. But yeah, you can put in 3 gemstones, 4 gemstones, and it's absolutely amazing. So right now we have 5 different groups for the relics, as you guys probably notice. We have the event ones, which are not that many, and then we have live arena, we have the clan. For the clan, we're still not really able to get them, and hopefully it will change soon. We're gonna be able to gain more clan XP and stuff. I want to basically walk you through every single one of these relics, so it might be a slightly longer video than usual. We're gonna start with the very first group right here, which is the standard group, and we are going to do it in the following way. I have basically all of the relic icons right here, and we are going to make a tier list starting with S tier, S tier, A, B, C, and D. Okay, like this, we're going to be able to kind of like have a comprehensive understanding of which ones are really the best relics, which ones I can use as fodders, etc. So, starting with the very first one, guys, I will kind of like quickly talk a bit about each one of them. We have the Volcardiac Heart, which is actually a pretty nice one. You're getting resistance, HP, defense. It is a mythical, so you're getting 4 different gemstones, which is a massive plus. I feel like the mythicals on their own, on top of the stats that you're getting from them, considering that you are getting so many gemstones, I feel like that should put them at the top on its own, right? Without actually thinking so much about the actual effect, even though that is important. I feel like so many gemstones are crazy good, and it's pretty hard to get them though. So this one will basically put a 20% magma shield on all allies for 2 turns. The magma shield is like a regular shield that basically reflects some of the incoming damage. It's not a bad relic whatsoever, to be honest with you guys. So in my opinion, this one will actually go into the S tier. It is a pretty good one, though. It's definitely not a bad one whatsoever, especially with the new champion. You can combine them, basically have a massive shield on the guaranteed champion. I wouldn't recommend you to use it on him, but on other support champions. So this goes as an S tier, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, we have the Hallowed Hilt. Now, this one on only because of the stats is super strong. So you have 24 speed to start with. Whenever the wearer heals an ally with an active skill, has a chance to place the fervor buff on the ally for 1 turn, which will increase and decrease the received damage and dealt damage by 10%. And this chance increases to 50%. So this can be really nice. 4 gemstones, 24 speed directly, is going to be absolutely massive on turn meter boosters, champions that need to be fast. So this is a very good relic, and as I mentioned, it's not necessarily only because of the effect, it's mainly because of everything else that you're getting from the relic. So this will be an S tier, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, guys, we have the Aspect of Zeroth. Very strong relic as well. It's a legendary. You're only getting 3 gemstones on it. Defense, resistance, and accuracy. And when the wearer receives fatal damage, 100% chance to basically reduce it by 50% of their turn meter, and then fully reduces their turn meter on a 1-turn cooldown. This is actually such a strong relic on supporters, on damage dealers. It can work on so many different champions. Yes, you're not getting the damage bonus from it, right? Because it's a completely different effect, but it can help to keep your champion alive. And if he's a mythical champion, maybe like a sick friend, a nice, a different champion that has the potential to basically bring back your team because it has a support form as well or something crazy like that, it can be absolutely nuts. So I really think that the aspect of Sirot, in my opinion, is an SS tier. Even though he's a legendary, is really, really strong. So let's put it in there. Moving on to the Wand of Submission. I gotta say it, one of my most favorite relics in the game, HP, speed, and accuracy. The wearer has a 50% chance to reflect the crowd control debuffs, including polymorph, back onto the attacker. I like using this on damage dealers. I've been telling you guys since day one, this is a relic that you must use on your damage dealers. You must use on champions that pose the highest threat in the team, because the enemy, if he's using an Armans, if he's using a different champion that is crowd controlling on a single target, it will attempt to control your highest threat in the team. And that's what most of the people do, and you have a chance to basically reflect that back. Super strong relic, very good stats on it. One of my most favorite relics. Thankfully, I have two of them, and yeah, no questions asked. This is an SS tier, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So let's put it up there. Moving on to the Gilded Dragonstone. So this is an epic one. The wearer's defense increases by 1% each time they receive damage, stacking up to 10%. I feel like, yeah, it's not that crazy, to be honest. You can basically stack up to 20% defense, which in a way or another is or actually, no, you don't. Yeah, you should be able to stack up to 20. Yeah, up to 20 at maximum level. So it's nice to have it on some champions, especially if there's some champions that might deal some damage. But to be honest with you guys, this is a relic that I'm constantly using as fodder. Maybe because I'm just constantly getting it. I feel like, yeah, it's nice to have 1, 2 copies of it to have on some random champions. At the end of the day, we do have 900 plus champions in the game or so. And you want to have as many relics equipped on as many champions as possible. But I feel like we're so early on with this. It's way more important to upgrade the important relics rather than spreading thin with the relics on all of your champions on the account so you don't move them back and forward. So personally, I prefer to use a lot of these relics as fodders to basically empower the few strong relics that I have, and overall it pays more. So Gilded Dragonstone, not doing anything too funky. Use it as a fodder with confidence. In my opinion, this one goes in the B tier, right? Decent, but nothing spectacular. Moving on to the Demonic Effigy. This is actually pretty nice as well. The wearer's turn meter increases by 10% whenever one of their allies dies. So the turn meter can increase up to 20% HP resistance and speed from it. Now, what I do like about this relic personally is that it's really nice for Chimera. It's really nice for a lot of content. So if you don't have some of the most OP legendaries or mythicals on most of your support champions that revive or stuff like this, this is actually really good because it can give you that edge that will enable you to maybe revive a champion that can pose some form of a threat to the enemy team before they get to move. And that's mainly because you're gaining so much turn meter from this one. But again, you shouldn't necessarily keep 2,000 copies of it. Yes, you keep 2-3 of them on some of your champions, and then the rest you can use them as fodders with confidence. This one, in my opinion, will actually go in the minus A tier. I feel like A tier is definitely a decent place for this one. Moving on to the next one, we have the Golden Elixir. You're getting attack, accuracy, HP from it. The wearer is instantly healed by 10%, 20% at maximum level when their HP drops below 50%. Now, this is actually not a bad relic whatsoever. It can be used on a lot of champions. The stats are decent. They are a bit weird at the same time because attack, accuracy, and HP. I feel like a lot of relics have very weird stats on them for whatever reason if you're comparing it with the with the actual effect. So that gives you the opportunity to use it even on some of the damage dealers, especially the ones that are slightly tankier and have maybe an interesting passive that might keep them alive. So it's definitely not a bad relic, definitely not something super OP or anything like that, right? I think personally, because it definitely gives you a chance at surviving, I feel like it could potentially go in the -A tier as well. But once again, you keep a few copies of these, 2, 3, 4 copies. The rest, use them as fodders to upgrade stronger relics. It will definitely be more important. I'm kind of like in between with this one, to be honest with you. -A plus B. I'm kind of like, yeah, where should we put this one? But we're gonna put it in the -A group for the moment. Moving on to the Unholy Grail. The wearer deals 2% more damage if under any debuffs. You can deal up to, what do we have here? 8% more damage if under any debuffs. Is a rare. You're getting attack, HP, and crit damage. Not bad stats on it, to be honest. But I feel like it's not that amazing. Yes, getting extra damage can be nice if you're under debuffs. For most of the content, most of the time, if you have a well-built team, you're not really going to worry too much about actual debuffs. Now, for Arena, of course, especially progression-wise, I don't necessarily think that is not going to be very helpful, you know, because, hey, a bit of extra damage is definitely nice, but it's nothing, nothing insane. So this one will go in the C tier. Let's put it right here. Moving on to the Mask of Rage. HP, defense, and accuracy. The wearer receives 15% less damage from enemies under a provoke debuff. I think it really sucks, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're planning to use it, PvE, PvP. It just doesn't really belong in a place, to be honest. Like, they need to be provoked. Yeah, it can be used on a champion like Nalhern, for example. You provoke, you receive less damage. But personally, I would rather use the Golden Elixir or something else that would benefit that champion more. So I just don't think is a very good relic whatsoever. So this as well, I feel like is going to go, in my opinion, this one in the minus C. Okay, as soon as I can spot it on the screen. There we go. That's the one, right? No, it's not. It's the other mask, actually. Sorry, what am I doing? What am I doing? You go back, and there you go. There you go. Moving on to the next one, guys. We have the Journal of Necrotos. Actually, a really strong relic. I really like it. I wish it would have some speed on it. That would make it really, really good. So basically, the wearer's heals and third meter increases effects applied to allies are boosted by 15%. And that goes up to 30%. Now, I'm using this on pretty much most of my third meter boosters. It might not sound like it's a lot. 30% of 30% was the big deal, right? But to be honest, for a rare one, is actually really, really good. And that 30% of a 30% third meter, for example, or a 20% third meter, can be the difference in if the enemy will cut on your team or not in some situations. So I think it's really good. I will put this one in the A tier. I really like the relic. I have probably, I don't know, like 4, 5 of them leveled up that I'm using. I feel like that's enough. The rest of them will become fodders, of course. Then, moving on to the next one, guys. We have the Road of Blasphemy. HP, attack, and accuracy. The wearer receives 2% less damage if under any debuffs. I feel like this is really, really weak. Yes. 8% damage reduction. If you're under debuffs, less damage. To be honest, that's not really going to save your life. It's not really going to be like, wow, what an amazing relic. And comparing it with the Unholy Grail, which at least will allow you to deal more damage, I feel like this is just not cutting it for me, to be honest with you guys. So I'm not even leveling one of them up. That's going to be just straight fodder over and over and over and over again. Moving on to the next group, we have the Chimera. Stormcaller, what an amazing, amazing relic. Crit damage, attack, and speed. You're getting a Stormcall buff. This can actually be really, really, really nice, especially when you're stacking up 5. the chance increases to 100% at maximum level. So it can be crazy good. Plus you have 4 different gemstones, 2 triangular, 2 circular. You have some of the best gemstones for damage dealers. Really strong, to be honest with you guys. So this will go in the SS tier, in my opinion. Where is it hiding? I gotta get a big pair of glasses so I can actually spot them all. There we go. Moving on to the next one, we have the Chrono Cube. The Chrono Cube gives you HP, attack, and defense. The wearer has a 50% chance to take 2 turns in a row. If this effect activates, the wearer skips the next turn. Occurs only once per battle. Now at maximum level, it's going to be a 100% chance to take that extra turn. I feel like it's definitely a good relic. I'm not 1000% sure if I'm sold on it as an SS tier. This is the only mythical relic that I have available on my account. Now, before they fixed it, it was very broken. Now it doesn't work like that. So, for example, you can actually basically skip turns sometimes, even if you metamorph, from what I've seen. The only way it actually works really well with that turn to ensure that you're not skipping the turn is when you're using it on a champion like, let's take, for example, Gizmek, right? So you have the A3 skill, which gives you an extra turn guaranteed. Then you can metamorph. Then you can use the A2, kill somebody, and still take that turn. And then eventually you will skip a turn. But you really need it to be guaranteed. Now, you can bring in good gemstones. I'm not the biggest fan of the stats. I find them pretty odd with HP, attack, and defense. But hey, I feel like the Chrono Cube, I think, is a minus SS in my opinion. So I'm not fully sold on SS, so I will put it in the S tier for the moment. Maybe I'm gonna change my mind in the future and I'm gonna modify it. But I feel like it's so conditional. If you're using it on champions that don't pose a massive threat from using 2 skills, I feel like it's pretty pointless on some of the champions. Like, you're basically just wasting it, right? But at the same time, I feel like you can definitely argue it and say, like, you know what, Skratch, it is pretty OP to gain the extra turn. Like, let's just say, if I put it on Odin, I'm gonna use the A2, then I'll use the A3 and kill somebody too. So that can be pretty damn nice, you know. But yeah, I'm not that sure that it belongs in the SS tier. Then we have the Gore Crescent. Attack, crit damage, and speed. The wearer's next attack after killing an enemy deals, what do we have? 30, 40, 50% more damage. This is crazy on Georgit, for example. So Georgit kills somebody and gains an extra turn, right? I feel like it's very conditional as well, the relic. You need it to be used on a champion that can gain an extra turn, okay? So without it, that champion might die. That's the main thing. I feel like it is pretty strong. The stats are really good on it. The gemstones are really good on it. And if it is used on the right champions, I feel like, yeah, it's definitely a pretty strong relic. So this one, I think it will go as well in the S tier. Moving on to the next one, guys. We have the Hand of Uncreation. I actually like the relic. Tons of accuracy, resistance, speed. Good mixture of stats on it, in my opinion. Reduces the chance of applying debuffs, stealing or removing buffs, stealing Terminator, or increasing a skill's cooldown against the wearer by 20%. So, if a lockout champion attempts to lock your skills, you have a 20% chance at maximum level to basically cancel that effect, or having your Terminator stolen, or your buffs, or your Terminator. I think it's really powerful, but is a lot of RNG with it, to be honest. I do like the stats on it, and I feel like if you are living in an RNG fest, as we all are in Raid Shadow Legends, and you're trying to basically make someone's life more miserable, you should 100% use the Hand of Uncreation. So yeah, I do think that is a pretty solid one. So that's going to go straight into the S tier. Moving on to the next one, guys. We have the Scroll of the Unseen. Nice relic for damage dealers that can stay veiled, especially champions like Ninja, Toshiro, that don't really necessarily need another champion to bring in the veil. Attack, crit damage, and speed, really good stats. The wearer's damage increases by 1% each time any other champion takes a turn when the wearer is under a veil or a perfect veil buff, stacking up to 30%. Damage bonus resets after the wearer takes a turn. That's something that I don't like, okay? I really don't like that part. Yes, you can actually increase the damage for every turn up to 6% at maximum level, which will stack to 30% really quick. But to be honest with you guys, having it reset every single turn and then using an ally attack or maybe a counter attack or anything like that, it will make this relic absolute because you won't be gaining damage from it, right? Except the stats that you're having or the gemstones. So personally, I feel like just because of that simple fact, is not going to go in the S tier, even though it's a good one. I feel like this should definitely go in the A tier. Moving on to the next one, guys. We have the Orb of Transfixion, HP, accuracy, and speed. The wearer will have 20-35% chance to steal a random buff when attacking a target. This effect cannot be resisted. Occurs once per skill. Definitely not a bad one. Now, one thing that I'm really curious, what if I'm using it on a champion like Armans, Crixia, even Fabian, for example, right? And we're going versus Stone Skin. So they already have skills that remove buffs. Those skills will fail to remove Stone Skin. Will the Orb of Transfixion apply as a different chance, which most likely it will? And then this might give you an extra chance at removing the Stone Skin from the enemy. So I do think that is fairly decent. I just think the chance is pretty low for what you can actually do, and is one random buff rather than something very specific, right? So I just don't necessarily think that is that great, okay? Personally, I only kept one copy of these. The rest of them, I've used them as fodders, basically. So the Orb of Transfixion, guys, will actually go into the B tier. Moving on to the Erratic Coronet. Attack, accuracy, HP. The wearer's damage increases by 6% each time they place a debuff, stacking up to 30%. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, Skratch, is this really a good relic? This relic enables you to do absolutely busted damage in the Hydra, okay? Not just there, but in general. The effect does not expire every single turn like on the Scroll of the Unseen. It doesn't necessarily have the best stats. You can only equip, of course, 2 gemstones, but is a triangular and a circular, which, if you have the right ones, it will boost the damage even more. So I really think that the Erratic Coronet, as crazy as it may sound for some of you guys, I do think that this epic relic might be the only one that will go in the SS tier, okay? 30% damage straight off the back. Really, really strong, okay? No questions asked. Then, moving on to the next one, guys. We have the Malefic Talon. 3 damage, HP, and attack. The wearer has basically 20, 30, 40% chance to deal 10% more damage when attacking. A bit conditional, but I do like it that you're getting the crit damage at the beginning. 40% crit damage is already a strong boost once you have it at maximum level. Triangular gemstones, pretty good. Only one. It is a rare. Definitely not the most OP one, but is a pretty good relic for a rare one. I think is definitely not a bad relic whatsoever. And for damage dealers, this is the best rare relic that we have in the game, unless I'm forgetting something in the clan or live arena ones, because I'm still not remembering every single one of them from there. So the Malefic Talon, guys, I think is going to go into -A. Okay, so I feel like is maybe not A. Maybe we're gonna put it like B+ -A, and we're gonna put it in the B tier. I think it's nice, but I don't think it should be kind of like at the same at the same level with the other ones, right? But it's not a bad relic whatsoever. Keep a few copies, the rest use them as fodders. We have the Diadem of Undead, guys. The wearer's defense increases by 1% for each ally under ally protection. This will go all the way up to 6%, defense, HP, and resistance. I find this relic pretty weak. Like, why would I use this one? It's conditional to ally protection. Why not use a different one that will just give me defense, right? Like, we have a different one. It is an epic. Epic relics are really not hard to get, to be honest. You do need a bit of luck here and there. But I think this one belongs in the D tier, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, we have the Tempus Sanguinis. The wearer's thermiter reduction effects are boosted by 30% at maximum level. HP, accuracy, and defense. Now, the stats on it are not the best. And if you're using it, for example, on a champion that decreases the thermiter by 30%, you're going to get 30% on top of that. I don't necessarily find it as impactful as the Journal of Necrotos that gives you the thermiter, right? But to be honest, it's not necessarily a bad relic, right? I have one of them kept that I've leveled up just in case if I'll need it on something, but I tend to use this as fodders pretty often, to be honest with you guys. So that will go in the C tier, minus B tier, minus B, C+, right? Moving on to the next one, we have the Molten Dead Bell. Actually a really strong one, 96 accuracy straight off the back, defense, HP, and the wearer's thermiter increases by 20% when applying crowd control debuffs to enemies. Occurs once per turn. So this is really nice on champions that apply crowd control debuffs. Odin, even on Armens if you don't have something better for him, to be honest. Like, this can work on a lot of champions. I do like that you are getting a lot of accuracy, which is the main substat on it, right? I think this is a pretty strong relic, and I will put this one in the A tier. Moving on to the next one, guys. What do we have on the list? We have the next group, which is the event group. Both of them are trash. I'm just kidding. The Cat's Gaze. Wow, okay. Portable Crushing Rend. That's how I'm calling it. 3 gemstones, 2 triangular, 1 circular. If you have the best gemstones, this relic is going to absolutely blow your mind, okay? The Cat's Gaze, guys, I don't even have to tell you much about it. Ignores 20% of the target's defense when attacking enemies with higher max HP. Great for PvE, great for PvP as well. This will go straight into SS tier, okay? That's it. Moving on to the next one, we have the Hater's Reserve, HP attack and crit damage. I'm not a fan of this relic. The wearer receives 5% less damage from enemies whose attack is lower, okay? Now, whose attack is lower usually? Mainly support champions, mainly revivers, right? They don't tend to do crazy damage, so receiving 10% less damage, it's not really going to be very impactful. Then, also inflicts 5% more damage to enemies whose max HP is lower than the wearer's. Very conditional once again. Is not a good relic for Taras. You don't want to have attack on him, right? It can be good for Narcissus, for example. Yes, if you build him with very high HP and you manage to have higher HP than the enemy support champions, then you're going to be able to actually inflict 10% more damage, which can be nice. But I feel like it's so conditional and just so badly designed that it's so hard to find the right champion to use it for and gain value while you're using it without being extremely conditional, because it all depends what the enemy team has rather than what you have. So when you try to control something that you have, you can do it more or less. When you're trying to control what the enemy has, it becomes irrelevant because you have no control over what he has, okay? So I'm really not a fan of this Hatter's Reserve. I feel like he's a pretty weak relic, to be honest. Let me know what you guys think as well. How many of you guys are really using it and be like, oh my god, it's so good. I feel like out of the most of the epics, this is almost like a minus B in my opinion. The only good thing is that you're getting 2 gemstones and the stats, right? So It's kind of like a minus B. I'll put it in the C plus tier for the moment. Moving on to the next one, guys. We have the clan group. We have the Murder Fang Mythical, attack, crit damage, and HP. The wearer has, what is this? 45, 50, 60% chance to deal bonus damage when using default skills. Bonus damage is either 3% of single target's hit or 1% of AoE hits of target's max HP. Think about it almost like a Giant Slayer, but a single hit, right? Giant Slayer deals slightly less damage than a War Master usually. I'm not sold on it. It is a mythical though. You can put really good gemstones on it, but other than that, I just don't think it's a very, very strong relic. It's not even 100% chance to deal that bonus damage when using the default skill, and it's only for the default skill. So where would you use this relic? I wouldn't use it in Arena. I wouldn't use it in the Hydra. Why would I use this over the Erratic Coronet or even the Talon, right? Because at least the Talon gives me damage over all of my skills. So I feel like out of all of the mythicals, I think this, in my opinion, might be the weakest one. But I'm very curious to hear your thoughts as well. Now, because it does have all of the additional gemstones and all that, let's just say that, yes, you can make it work in a way or another and do some additional damage because of the gemstones. But as a relic, I just feel like it's pretty underwhelming, to be honest with you guys. Let me know what you think as well, but this is going to go in the A tier for me. And that's mainly because of the gemstones and everything else. Moving on to the next one, we have the Chrysalid of Rebirth. Speed, HP, and defense. This on its own is going to put it in the very top, okay? Plus is actually really, really good as well. So, you have basically 40, 50, 60, 100% chance. So the wearer has a 100% chance to get an extra turn when reviving allies or themselves. Such a good relic. So if you're using it, even on a champion like Odin, for example, right? You're using the A3, you revive somebody, then you get you're getting an extra turn. And you can move on to the A2, control the enemies. If you're using it maybe on a Siphi, you revive, extra turn, you can buff or put the enemy to sleep. And not to mention that you're getting all of those stats. I feel like it's just such an amazing relic, and I cannot wait to put my hand on this one personally. I think it's going to be really, really, really good. So this goes straight into the SS tier, guys. That speed on its own is amazing. Essence Quencher. 3 damage attack and HP. The wearer's damage is increased by 20% of the target's current turn meter, which can actually increase all the way up to 30%. The damage cannot be increased by more than 15% or 5% against bosses. I feel like it's going to go up to 10% against bosses as well. So this is pretty weird, okay? It's pretty weird because it's all about the actual turn meter, okay? I do need to do further testing with this relic, but as it is, I think I've got this one recently. I think I got it from the materials that we got from CVC. If I remember it correctly, I think I got it. But I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest with you guys. I'm definitely not a big fan of the... Yeah, I got it. There we go. Now, it's nice that you can equip all that, but I feel like, again, why would I use this one, okay, versus bosses, versus pretty much any other enemy, when I can just go in and use an epic relic, okay, which will give me much better damage. So even if you're thinking about, for example, the Scroll of the Unseen, even this one will guarantee you more damage versus bosses, 30% once you complete the condition, right? Yes, you're not getting the same stats from it. It will give you slightly more stats and all that. But why would I use that over Erratic Coronet, over the Scroll of the Unseen, right? I feel like just because of that, I don't necessarily think that is such an amazing, amazing relic. I'm just not feeling it as much. So the Essence Quencher, in my opinion, is going to go straight into the A tier, okay? And definitely after we have the Scroll of the Unseen, not in front of it. Then, moving on to the Temporal Stagnator. This is very niche as a relic. If you're using it on the right champions, Crixias, it needs to be used on champions that actually hit, attack. So this will now work on different champions that don't attack. So if you want to use it, for example, on Armans, it will not work on him, okay? You're getting accuracy, speed, and resistance. Very good stats. The wearer has 20, 30, 40, 50% chance to remove, steal, or convert buffs, or increase a skill's cooldown when landing a weak hit, okay? So, I think it's kind of like designed for a champion like Crixia. Whenever I'm going with Crixia versus Magic champions, she's just getting smacked, okay? So I would actually equip this relic on my Crixia. No questions asked. If I'm ever gonna get it, it will go straight on Crixia. But as I've mentioned, it's really conditional. What I do like about it is, yeah, you're getting accuracy, speed, and resistance, which are really good stats. And because it's so niche and so conditional, I find it hard to really say, like, okay, use it on this champion. Let's just say it's definitely not a bad one, but it's not that good either. And because it's conditional, I'm only gonna put it in the A tier. Don't get me wrong, it's a good relic for one specific thing, but that's about it. The stats are great on the relic, but if you're comparing it with the ones that are in higher tiers, it just doesn't do that much, right? Then, moving on to the Inferno Sphere. Resistance, HP, and defense. The wearer's resistance increases by, not 2%, by 12% for every 5% of the HP lost, which will stack up to 20%. So you can gain additional resistance. I feel like it's not a bad relic. It's so hard to go into the resistance meta just because the accuracy has such a big advantage versus resistance. And this could potentially be what sets you apart, right? 20% of it can be good. You're starting already with 96 resistance, some HP, and defense. I think, once again, is a very niche relic. If you're trying to build something with resistance, you could potentially use it on some champions. But then again, there are much better relics that could keep your champions alive or could do something better. So the Inferno Sphere, I feel like I'm a bit in between with it, to be honest. Kind of like a -A in my opinion, because it's pretty conditional as well, but it's definitely not bad for what I've just mentioned. Then, moving on to the Valkanen's Grasp. This is something that I still did not have a chance to try because I don't have this on the test server. I don't have it on my account. You're getting HP, defense, and resistance. The wearer will reflect 10, 20, 35% damage absorbed by block damage buffs back onto the attacker. Once again, extremely conditional, okay? Extremely conditional. I want to try this versus Trials in the Chimera on my Alice. I want to see if, or actually not even on Alice, I can use it on any other champion that will take damage, right? Now, one thing that I'm still not 100% sure is, will this only reflect the damage taken by the wearer or by the entire team that is under block damage or unkillable? I really want to see if this will enable me to complete an extra trial. So I feel like it could have the potential to be good if it enables you to do that. But if not, it's not really going to be that great, okay? It's just not going to be very, very good. So this one is going to go, for the moment, in the B tier, okay? B plus tier. But once I'm going to get it and try it and convince myself that, yes, it works, as I described it, please let me know. Maybe some of you guys already have it. If it does work, it's going to belong in the A tier, okay? If it only affects the wearer and not the other allies, a B tier is where it belongs. Then we have the Flash Render. Defense, HP, and crit damage. Wearer increases the damage of each hit on their next attack by 3% of any surplus heal when self-healing. The damage cannot increase by more than 20% and will reset after each attack. I don't like this, okay? yes, you can increase your damage by 5, 7, 9%. Or my math just sucks today. 5, yeah, 9%. If you have a mastery that allows you to heal, if he's a champion that heals with some of the skills, it can do a bit of work, but it's only 20% extra damage, okay? That's it. You cannot increase it by more than that. 20%, 20,000, sorry. And it can be nice, maybe in a PvE, but I feel like it's gonna be pretty hard to get it to that 20,000, you know? I'm not the biggest fan of this flash render relic. I just don't think it's just that amazing, right? So this one will go in the C tier. I feel like it belongs there. Very conditional, only works on a few champions that can self-heal. Then we have the Black Shroud Fan. Wearer receives 2% less damage from ally protection effects or buff placed by them. This can go all the way up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 8%. 8% less damage from ally protection effects or buffs placed by them. HP defense and resistance. I mean, a bit of damage reduction is not bad. Again, pretty conditional to champions that do ally protections or things like that, right? So definitely not a good one. I wouldn't use it on any champion, to be honest. Even on champions that do ally protection, I can find better relics to basically ensure that they're gonna have better survivability. So this one, I feel like this as well is a D tier in my opinion. Maybe a D+, maybe. Comparing it with the other one that has the opposite effect, you know? I still don't think it's great. Then, moving on to the last group, we have the live arena guys. We have the Infernal Polytope. HP speed and defense fully resets the cooldown of the wearer's skills whenever their HP drops below 15% on a 3-turn cooldown. This can be nice, okay? It can be a game changer on some of the champions if they can survive when they drop that low. Because that might enable you to either revive the rest of your team, either basically buff your team with something that might keep them alive. I feel like it's definitely a pretty solid relic. It's not an instant effect from it, so you're not guaranteed to take a turn. So maybe a different champion can kill you, right? But the stats are good on it, and I feel like it's definitely a pretty strong relic. But in my opinion, this is going to go in the S tier. Moving on to the next one, and I'm not talking about an actual S, guys, right? Just the S. Then we have the Dat Dealer. This one gives you attack, HP, and speed. The wearer's attacks will always be critical hits, but the wearer receives 200% more damage, okay? Now, this will go down to 100% at maximum level. This relic is crazy broken. Some of you guys might not really appreciate what you can do when you don't need to build a champion with crit rate and you're just building the champion with high attack and crit damage, and every single attack will always be critical, is massive. For PvE, for PvP, right? I think it's a really strong relic. To be honest, I'm not 1000% sure if it belongs in the SS tier, but I think this can be dangerous. This can be dangerous. Like imagine Itos with the A3, right? And if you're only building him for the A3, how much more damage he deals when you're actually building him with full crit rate, right? Because it's taking you so many stats from the attack and crit damage. So I think it's definitely a pretty nasty relic. I think it's kind of like a minus SS in my opinion, plus S. So I'm gonna put this in the S tier, to be honest. But I think it's a really good one. Then we have the Harp of Caspiel. The wearer's turn meter fills by 5% each time they use a skill that doesn't deal damage. This can go up to 15%. HP, resistance, and speed. This would be better if the speed would be at the front or in the middle to have higher speed. Yes, you can use it on a lot of champions that basically self-buff, even debuff, and don't deal damage, and allow you to gain Thermiter, right? But I don't necessarily think that is so game-changing. I think it's a good one, but I just don't think it's that like, oh my god, this relic is going to be absolutely freaking amazing. And I think it is fairly conditional because it only works on champions that don't deal damage, right? So this one, I think is going to go in the A tier, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, we have the Axe Serpentis. HP, crit damage, and attack. The wearer's single target attacks deal 5% more damage for exposed neck present in the battle. Okay? I'm not sure about you guys, but I freaking hate this relic, and I hope I'm not gonna get it anytime soon, okay? Like, 15% more damage for each exposed neck, but only single target attack. This is very niche, only for the Hydra clan boss. It's not really gonna benefit you anywhere else, except the fact that you can equip gemstones and gain additional stats, right? So, if you have 3-4 exposed necks, you're gonna get 60% additional damage on single target hits. So if you're gonna go with a champion like Ninja, Eyasu, even Legare Theox with the A1, damn, you can gain a lot of damage from it. But I just feel like it's only for the Hydra. It's only about exposed necks, right? And if you have no exposed necks, you're not really gonna do much with it. So I'm not really feeling this relic too much, to be honest with you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm almost leaning like to a minus A, but considering that, yes, let's just say if you are using it on the right champions, you can do crazy good damage when you have exposed necks. So I think an A is definitely where it belongs. Then we have the Preserved Aberration. Attack, accuracy, and crit damage. The wearer will ignore 2% of the target's defense for each poison debuff on the target placed by the wearer. An 8% defense. So, if you're gonna go in with Calvalax, if you're gonna go in with Xavia, if you're gonna go in with champions that land a lot of poisons, I feel like it can be decent, but it's so conditional to the poisons. And what I don't like is that the wearer needs to land the poisons. If it wouldn't have that condition on it, I think it could be a very, very good one, right? But if you're running some form of a poison team, you could deal additional damage. Now, if you're running a poison detonation team and you're hoping for Xavia to basically go in there and just do more damage, she won't do it because she won't apply the poisons. The rest will apply the poisons, and then she will go to detonate. And maybe in the next turn, if you don't have a reset champion, she will apply poisons. Or if you are setting your team in such a way that she applies poisons too, you're gonna be slow farming whatever you are farming, right? So it's a bit too conditional in my opinion. Not good for the Hydra. It can be decent in the Chimera if they will bring a crazy good damage dealer that lands poisons and does a lot of other things in there too. So let's just say potentially it could go somewhere, but this will go in the B tier. Then moving on to the Moon Death Orchid. The wearer deals pure damage equal to 20% of their attack to enemies that resist debuffs from the wearer. This damage cannot be critical. So it can increase all the way up to 100% of the wearer's attack. Attack, HP, and speed, that's what you're getting as main stats on it. Now, the attack cannot be critical. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great either. Why would I use this over the Iratic Coronet or over the banner, right, with the veil? I keep forgetting the name of that one. Apologies. I think it can be decent. So conditional, resist debuffs. You can build a champion to have no accuracy, and then you can constantly proc this when they are resisting your debuffs, right? Which is not not bad. I do need to see exactly what sort of numbers we are able to get out of this relic. For the moment being, is going to go as well in the B tier. Then moving on to the Royal Digit. Attack, HP, and crit damage. The wearer has 30, 40, 50% chance to decrease the incoming damage by 10%. Not even 100% chance. It's just a chance to decrease the damage. So why are they not giving me support stats? I wouldn't use this on a damage dealer to have a chance to reduce the incoming damage to my damage dealer by 10%. You know, I just feel like it's just not good enough. 10% damage reduction on a squishy nuker does pretty much nothing. And is only a chance for it to happen. So I'm really not a fan of it. So this will go in the D tier. Moving on to the last relic, we have the Draught of Ire. HP, attack, and accuracy. The wearer deals 15% more damage when using their default skill when all other skills are on cooldown. Excuse me, why would I bother to use my default skill when I have my other skills available that will deal crazy good damage over my default skill in most cases? Now, I feel like, not to take it away, this relic, it just feels like it's designed specifically for Fennecs, okay? Hands down, it's designed specifically for Fennecs with the A1, 15% more damage. We're never using the A2 or the A3. But you're not getting crit damage on it, which I don't like. The attack is at the middle, which means that it's less attack. And you're getting accuracy on the last one. So it's basically Fennecs' relic. Let me just call it like that. I feel like as well, yeah, let's just say you can use it on Fennecs, but is that enough to put it in a higher tier just because of it? No. So it's gonna go in a D tier. Yes, maybe some of you guys are wondering, Skratch, you are putting like epic freaking relics in the A tier. Maybe the golden elixir shouldn't necessarily be in the A tier. Maybe we should downgrade it to the B tier. But as I've mentioned, this was definitely a minus A plus B. So I'm gonna keep it as it is. This is my ultimate tier list for relics in Raid Shadow Legends, guys. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know which one of these relics is your most favorite one. And do you agree on them? You disagree on some of them? Drop in a good reasoning behind as well. And as usual, appreciate all of you guys watching. Much love, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.